Hey, it's Dr. Ernst, host of the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. Listen, are you sick and tired of all the crazy diets that just don't work? Keto, paleo, Mediterranean, CERT, there's so many out there. What if I could give you a real human diet? I mean, the diet that is actually going to help you to heal, be vibrant, be alive, lose weight. The challenge, guys, is there's so much fake food out there. There's foods that aren't even foods, bioengineered, genetically modified, hybridized. It's not even real. I'm offering a chance for you to download my brand new Real Human Food Diet. We want you to be a real human, not a fake human, but a real human, someone who heals, has tons of energy, is vibrant, is burning fat like crazy. All you have to do is click the link that you see on the screen or scan the QR code. It'll take you straight to a page that you can download the brand new Real Human Food Diet ebook. Guys, it's free, 100%. Do it right now. Take a moment so you can heal yourself. Scan the QR code to grab your ebook today. Welcome to Cornerstone Health Center, Charlotte's premier destination for natural healing and regenerative healthcare. If you're tired of chasing symptoms, masking pain, or being told everything looks normal, you've just found a clinic that asks a different question. What's the root cause of your condition? We're an integrated functional and structural clinic offering cutting-edge solutions, everything from precision structural chiropractic care to personalized functional medicine and even advanced nutritional coaching, deep cellular detoxification, and powerful alternative therapies like Hockett ozone sauna, RegenWave therapy, spinal decompression, and PEMF therapies. At Cornerstone Health Center, our mission is clear: to uncover what's holding you back and empower you to become your own doctor. We believe healing doesn't come from a pill, it comes from within. And with the right tools, education, and natural therapies, you can finally take control of your health. Call us today at 704-597-7490 to schedule a complimentary consultation with one of our doctors, or visit us online at cornerstonehealthcenter.com. That's healthctr.com. Your health is a cornerstone. Let's rebuild it together.
Hey, my name is Dr. Aaron Ernst. I want to introduce you to a revolutionary therapy called Hockett. Hyperthermic, carbonic acid, ozone, transdermal therapy. It combines 10 different holistic and natural therapies in evolutionary therapy called Hockett. Hyperthermic, carbonic acid, ozone, transdermal therapy. It combines 10 different holistic and natural therapies in one 30-minute session. Everything from steam to carbonic acid to ozone to PEMF, even microcurrent. The benefit of this, we can target specifically your condition. It could be chronic fatigue, it could be inflammation, it could be joint pain, it could even be fibromyalgia, Lyme's disease, mold toxicity, heavy metal toxicity. With over 100 different settings, we can program this machine specific to your body so you get natural healing from the inside out. Carbonic acid opens the pores of your skin. Ozone then transfers inside. And guys, ozone kills everything. Mold, pathogens, parasites, Lyme's disease. It cleans your blood, bringing you a level of healing that you cannot get anywhere else. The microcurrent will literally zap your body with energy that brings about restoration and rejuvenation by stimulating your mitochondria and opening up your phase 1 and phase 2 detox pathways. If you've been struggling with chronic fatigue, inflammation, joint pains, brain fog, or you have a chronic infection like Lyme or mold or any co-infections, Hockett therapy is exactly what you're looking for. If you're looking for a breakthrough in your health that you cannot find from supplements, procedures, physiotherapies, chiropractic, even traditional medicine, Hockett therapy will provide that for you. Schedule your first session to experience the Hockett difference. Hi, my name is Dr. Aaron Ernst, Clinic Director of Cornerstone Health Center. I want to introduce you to RegenWave. This revolutionary technology uses hydroelectric shock to stimulate new blood flow, activate stem cells, and create regeneration. The best part, it can be used on your joints, shoulders, neck, back, hips, feet. Even peripheral neuropathies can improve. The unique thing about RegenWave is this hydroelectric shock wave regenerates mesenchymal stem cells. It activates them so that your bone, ligament, and tendon tissues can actually regenerate. In fact, it even stimulates nerve cells for regeneration. When you use RegenWave, most patients feel changes in as little as 4 to 6 sessions. We're talking activation of regeneration to your joints. If you're looking to regenerate your joints using a non-surgical, non-injective therapy, schedule your consultation. We'll find out if you're a candidate for RegenWave therapy so you can allow your joints to regenerate from the inside out.
Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. I'm your host, Dr. Aaron Ernst, and today we're going to explore and look into an extremely important concept. It is the idea that our food system is quietly being reshaped in front of you without even you knowing it. So much so that the food you think is food today is not. So we're talking about the dangers of man-made, synthetic, not just processed, but just physically fake food. Guys, for the first time in human history, we are at a stage where mankind is trying to redefine the definition of food. Making foods out of thin air, literally, making foods that don't require an animal source for clean proteins. Food, as you know, should come from nature. It comes from animals and plants and soil and water and sun. So food is supposed to be grown and raised and hunted and gathered and harvested. The human digestive system has been created and has adapted itself to these environments for thousands of years to recognize what is food and what is not food. So don't you dare think that you can say, I put the Impossible Burger into my body and it loved it because your body said, what the heck is this impossible food? I don't know if you guys know this, but in the past century, the way food is processed has undergone a massive change. The industrialization of classic agriculture, the processing methods to make certain ingredients that are synthetic and chemical-based, additives, and the global needs of food, right? It's a massive industry. Food is a huge industry. So what began as this idea of taking natural food and eating real food has gradually and slowly, so slow you probably wouldn't even know it's happening, become this massive, complex issue for human health. The food that appears on the shelves in the grocery stores and in the restaurants of today is not real food. Now, I'll put an asterisk around that. Maybe if you're going to a local, grass-fed, organic, farm-to-table restaurant, we can talk about that. But even still, a lot of the foods of today, they are engineered. So today we're in an era where food can be created in tanks, or it can be synthesized in a lab, or it can be grown from the inside nuclear material of a cell, like beef and fish and chicken and turkey. We can synthetically grow them without the need of a living animal. If you know what I'm talking about, these are lab-cultured meats. And now, unfortunately, synthesized, chemically printed foods. They have 3D printers that print food. And I know what you might be thinking. Oh my God, Dr. Ernst, this could solve world hunger. This could solve the problem of, the availability of food in certain nations and cultures, and even in my city. Like, I could think of the future, like Star Trek, where I could just walk up and be like, tea, Earl Grey hot, and it would just show up. Yeah, that might happen, but what is being printed or put in that food isn't what you would find in real food. These developments are often presented as technological breakthroughs that are going to save humanity and make us healthier. And many supporters describe them as being innovative. Like, oh my gosh, if you've heard about this, Bill Gates has said we can make butter out of carbon dioxide that we pull out of the air. So we'll save the planet, we'll remove the CO2, and we'll make you have butter for your toast every day. Carbon butter is what he's calling it. Synthetic butter made from air. We're going to talk about how dangerous that is for you in a moment. Okay? They will say that it's this innovative solution for environmental, global food demands and agriculture efficiency. Like, we're going to save the planet. But I'm here to tell you something, guys, and I'll just throw this out right now. For whatever reason, anytime humankind decides to make something that God made himself better, let me make better animals, let me make better vegetables, let me make better vaccines. Let me make better medications. Let me make things better than what you made, God. That is the effect of the fall of man. That is the effect of our ego getting in the way. That is the effect of us thinking we can be a God or like God. And we screw it up. We always do. Never in human history has something that man created been better than what God created. And I'm even going to throw it as a blanket statement. If you know of something, okay, if you're listening to my voice and you know of something that man made that's better than what God made, use the chat, type it there. I'll eat humble pie. But I have never seen something man-made last longer or be better for us than something God made. Amen to that. Okay? The human body does not just look at, hey, that tastes like butter, and it feels like butter, so it must be butter. It recognizes individualized molecular patterns and even energy patterns of food. Your body can tell the nutrient structures, the biochemical signatures, the individual peptide proteins. Like, your body is so smart that when you put a carrot in your mouth, it's like, oh, this is a carrot, and it's full of retinol and full of vitamins and full of all this stuff that helps. But warning, the carrots that you're eating today, they are not carrots. The orange little sticks that you're buying at the grocery store, that is not what a real carrot looks like. I know I'm going to burst your bubble with this, but carrots are not orange, guys. That is a man-made carrot. We designed it to be orange and to have the perfect shape and to not have a lot of crevices in it so that dirt doesn't get inside of it. Like, this is what I'm talking about. That's not genetically. It's a hybridized, genetically changed, because of hybridization, food product. Did you know that broccoli does not exist in nature in the way you see it, with that thick stalk and massive head of florets? That's man creating that version of broccoli. Real broccoli, broccolini, is a thin stalk with just a tiny amount at the top. And see, humans are like, it's really hard to grow that, and it's not very much product. So instead, let's mix it with other vegetables, or let's slightly change the DNA, and all of a sudden, this massive thick head of broccoli. That's not broccoli. Your body knows it. But Dr. Ernst, it's listed as organic broccoli in the grocery store. See, that's the subtle shift. Today's modern food industries has dramatically shifted what food is compared to what food was. If you went back 1,000 years ago, which I know sounds like a lot, but I mean, think of it. It's 1,000 years ago. It's not that far. I mean, we're in 2026. So let's go back 1,000 years. Broccoli didn't look like what we eat today. They didn't have Impossible sausages. They didn't have mycoprotein-based soy this, fake that. And they didn't have any of that. They had real food. And what's crazy is everyone thinks they were unhealthy. They died so young. Well, it wasn't because of heart attacks, diabetes, cancer, thyroid issues. It was because they just didn't know how to keep things clean. They didn't have the technology of removing waste. There was rampant infections 1,000 years ago. So the leading cause of death at young age of 38 was so-and-so got syphilis or tuberculosis, or they couldn't survive the fact that their leg broke and it got infected. See, the joy of today is modern technology. We can keep ourselves alive for a long period of time. But is that a good thing? I mean, if we're keeping ourselves alive when we're chronically metabolically sick? Right now, the leading cause of death in the U.S. is metabolic conditions. So go 1,000 years ago, the leading cause of death was not heart disease, cancer, diabetes, thyroid issues, obesity. It was, so-and-so got trampled by a horse, or they got stabbed with a sword because there was this huge war, or they got an infection like typhus or something that just took over their body. Today, we've controlled, for the most part, those kind of conditions. I mean, when's the last time you went in and somebody said, I had a sword stabbing and I didn't make it? Or, I had typhoid fever or whooping cough. I mean, we've controlled this because we've learned how to keep our environment clean. But in the sake of that learning, we've forgotten that food should be real. So I'm going to start off with the first category of fake food. Everybody knows this. It's ultra-processed industrial foods. How do you know if a food is ultra-processed? Real simple. If there's a barcode on it and it's in a box, wrapped in plastic on the inside, it's been processed. How did that stuff get inside of a plastic container in a box because it went through a plant, a factory where they made it. So it's processed. Number two, if there's more than one ingredient, it is to a degree processed. And the more ingredients, the more processing. So I'll give you an example. How many ingredients do you find in an apple? And first of all, they don't put ingredients on an apple because there's only one apple, period. How many ingredients do you find in a steak? Steak, period. Now, if you grab the Impossible steak, there's like 65 ingredients, and none of it is beef, so that is processed, man-made food substitutes. Does it taste like beef? Maybe. Does your body say, wow, that was a great steak? Heck to the 00, no, it does not. So think of processed food as food that just has more than one ingredient, or it has a barcode associated with a box and a wrapper on it. Okay? Now, some of you will start saying stuff like, well, aren't some box food items better? Yes, if there's 3 ingredients, that's better than 9 ingredients, better than 46 ingredients. But just remember this, the only way it gets into a wrapper or a box or a bag is if it went through a processing. So even the organic, grass-fed, beef tallow, bison jerky bar, still processed. More than one ingredient, and it's wrapped inside some kind of a plastic wrapper. Ultra-processed foods are the products of the industrial formulations of making foods be refined rather than in their whole state. So this will always be things like additives to modify flavor, texture, shelf stability, appearance. You'll see things like emulsifiers and flavor enhancers and stabilizers and artificial sweeteners. So I have a gift for you guys. We're about 11 minutes into our show. If you're going like, hey, I want like the cheat sheet guide of how do I know if my food is synthetic and what is the real human diet? I'm talking the diet that makes you lose 30 pounds, that boosts your energy, that gives you your focus back. I've got it for you. It's called the real food diet, not the synthetic food diet. And all you have to do is text the word food, F-O-O-D, to 704-906-2094. 100% yours free, no strings attached. We'll just ping it right over to you. And we'll connect you with all the great stuff that we do here at the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. 704-906-2094. One of the biggest factors behind the issues with processed foods is that it is known to disrupt the gut microbiome. The trillions and trillions of healthy bacteria that you have living in your digestive system play an extremely crucial role in your immune system, nutrient absorptions, and your inflammatory process. All processed foods with additives will punch holes in the microbiome, disrupt the bacteria, and create one of the leading causes of chronic inflammation and irritation, what's known as leaky gut or dysbiosis. The rise of ultra-processed foods over the past decades is the number one reason that so many of us have inflammatory digestive issues, which leads to autoimmunity, which leads to the body attacking itself. So how do we know if a food is ultra-processed? Simple, there's more than one ingredient. And the more processing, the more ingredients on the list. And if you think that the food you're eating is healthy, I challenge you that it come from a box. Was it wrapped in plastic? And is there more than one ingredient? If you can't say no to all 3 of those, it is not in a box, it does not have more than one ingredient, and it's not wrapped in plastic, then it's a whole real food. Okay, number 2, this is a big one, right? This idea of lab-grown meat. I mean, think about this. In the future, you won't be able to tell if the steak you bought at the grocery store came from an actual cow or if it came from a petri dish. You won't be able to tell if the chicken that you're about to skewer to make your whatever dinner was actually from a chicken or if it was grown in a lab and cultured and pushed together. One of the most widely discussed synthetic foods of this day is what's known as lab-grown and cultured meats. And before you start saying stuff like, there's no way they're actually doing this. No, like, the powers to be, the big companies behind beef and chicken and even fish are saying, hey, we don't need to go kill a cow to make a steak. We can just take the stem cells, put in a culture medium, put it in a petri dish that's in the shape of a steak, and it'll duplicate itself until it's thick enough, and we can call it lab-grown meats. So inside special bioreactors, the cells multiply to create more muscle tissue, and to encourage them to look like meat, they add what's called a scaffolding material. It's like a framework. So it's like these little tubules that the stuff has to grow along, and eventually it will look like a steak. Scientific achievements behind cultured meats might seem impossible, but now they've actually demonstrated it. They've done this with beef and hamburgers and chicken and fish. So as animals grow, here's the thing. Their muscles have connective tissue, fat, micronutrients, biochemical signals, energy, and even neurological tissue inside of that. So real meat has life force. It has an essence. It has the structuring of tissues and connective tissues and muscle and vessels and nerves and fat. And see, the problem with the lab-grown meats is they're like, let's take all that gross stuff out and let's create a synthetic lattice. From a nutrient perspective, they are trying to say it's the same thing. That the amount of protein and the amount of fat inside of this is the same as a steak. But see, what you cannot replicate is life force, power, neurological signaling. The fact that that muscle's been moving in the animal and it has an energy inside of it. Because the technology is relatively new, you're going to start seeing in the next not too soon genetically modified and or lab-grown cultured meats in food products. I hate to say it, I'm going to throw it out, but Campbell's is starting to say, look at the labels, guys, that it uses bioengineered meat. What does that mean? It means the chicken in the chicken noodle soup was grown in a lab. It's not real chicken. But Dr. Ernst, like, how am I supposed to know this kind of stuff? You got to pay attention, man. You got to pay attention. How about this next one, right? Food from air. The idea that we can make food out of air. It's microbial protein. This is going to be a weird one for you guys. And again, remember, if you're kind of like, if you're having your mind blown and you're like, wait, man, they're trying to destroy food. They've been doing this since, the early 1900s. Text the word food with your name and email to 704-906-2094. I will send you a guide on how to know if your food is fake and synthetic. I'll give you a list of all the foods that you think are real that aren't, and I'm going to give you a real human food diet. It's free, 100%. You just need to text the word food plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. Okay, this category known as microbial proteins or food from air is this. Ready? Think of it like this way. They take bacteria and they allow it to ferment to create a byproduct. Okay, so for example, bacteria, yeast, and other microbes could be cultured inside these large tanks where they have been given things like hydrogen gas or methane or carbon dioxide. And these microbes can take those airs and turn them into things. Biomasses can make things like protein powders and other types of food products. So this is Bill Gates' carbon butter example. There's a bacteria or a fungus that has the ability to take the carbon dioxide out of the air and turn it into this waxy, like oily substance that if you collect all of it and you do some stuff to it, you can turn it into a stick of butter. Gross, isn't it? So it's this concept of letting microbes take air and ferment the gases in the air and turn it into things. Now, this is not a foreign concept, just so you guys. We have used microorganisms to culture food before. Okay, so yogurt, of course, is made by culturing a dairy product. Cheese is cultured. Breads have yeast in them to make them ferment and rise. And we've even been fermenting vegetables with bacteria. So in a traditional sense, microbes can be very supportive in helping real food turn into real food. But again, remember, your human digestive system is designed to eat foods that come from those types of microbes, bacteria, fungus, and yeast that are fermenting or digesting food. See, the problem becomes when biomass engineered food is consumed in large quantities, the molecular patterns are different. The bacteria in your body doesn't make a thick, waxy biomass that smells and looks like butter that's actually some sort of fatted oil. So if you were to eat Bill Gates' butter, your gut would go, what the heck is this? It would become extremely inflamed. And even researchers are studying the fact that microbial proteins can cause immunological responses. Now, let's put for a moment our conspiracy theorist hats on. Is Bill Gates trying to destroy the human race by destroying the microbiome and making us all have an autoimmune disease so that we start attacking our bodies and we get sick, thus needing all the help that he and his company gives us by all the vaccinations they push on everyone? I'll let you answer that for a question. The idea is that while these synthetic foods may have certain nutrients in them, they have fake versions of it. Imagine like if you were to clone yourself. Now, there's two of you, but you're the real one, and you have a soul, and you have neural energy, and you have a connection, but the clone doesn't have that. And they have a heartbeat, they have a brain that works, but they're missing that inner essence, right? It's like they don't have their spiritual side, because you can't clone spirit. You can clone physical, but not spirit. So if I cloned myself and both of us die, I know it's a controversial topic, isn't it? Does my clone go to heaven? Was there even a soul in that? There's no energy, but there is energy, but it's not molecular, biophysical. So when you clone food, do you clone all of the nutrients, or do you just clone what they want? Do you create an actual living food product, or do you make something that looks like and smells like and tastes like, but the moment you swallow it, your body goes, what the heck is this? And then disease kicks in. Why are we so sick today? Because you're actually eating fake food without even knowing it. Okay, I'm going to throw this out. Like, think about this. Flour mixed with water and yeast that's turned into a crust that's baked that you put tomato sauce and cheese and pepperoni onto is not food. What, Dr. Ernst? That sounds a lot like pizza. Do you see where I'm going with this? Well, I had this like organic piece of carrot cake. Yeah, but see, there's no plant that makes carrot cake that you can just walk up to and grab a piece of carrot cake and eat it. That was somebody who, in their brilliance, said flour, water, eggs, baking soda, salt, and some sugar and some flavorings and some carrots and some stuff blended together, mixed with eggs and put into an oven and baked and smeared with sugar is food. No, that's not food. Food is fish, chicken, turkey, eggs, grass-fed red meats, wild-caught game, real vegetables, real fruits, nuts and seeds, fats and oils, period. It's not that complicated. There is an actual recipe in the greatest book on the planet called the Bible that tells humans how to eat. Okay, I've got 2 minutes before we have to, go for a small commercial break. Synthetic dairy and, maybe you didn't even know this is happening right now, but you probably did, because everybody wants to do oat milk and almond milk and rice milk and hemp milk and soy milk, all these non-dairy dairies. And those in themselves are dangerous because they're high in pesticides and fungicides and all that stuff. But did you know that they're now trying to make milk, like dairy milk, without a cow? So we have yeast and fungus again in a fermentation tank that can take nutrients and make a liquid that looks like and smells like and tastes like milk. So then you can make cheese out of this fake milk, or you can make dairy out of this fake milk with no cow involved. This synthetic milk is not something from science fiction. It's actually existing today. The proteins look the same. If you stuck a meter inside of it and said, is this cow's milk? It'll come back and say yes. Like, they're that good at matching this stuff. But remember, natural, real, raw dairy has bioactive compounds, including enzymes, immunoglobulins, hormones, fat-soluble vitamins, and the fake milk doesn't have any of that. It just has the proteins and the fats. Synthetic dairy products are extremely common today. You might not even know that half the stuff you're drinking, when it says contains dairy, is the fake fungus dairy or yeast dairy. Look, if you guys are going like, no, there's no way, Dr. Ernst, just look this up. Synthetic, fake dairy. Fungal dairy, yeast dairy. So as we come back from this commercial break, we're going to keep going. All the foods that are completely synthetic that you're still eating, and how you can turn this around by eating a real human food diet. I'll give it away to you right now. Text the word food, F-O-O-D, with your name and email to 704-906-2094. That's all I need, 704-906-2094. The word food, and we'll send you an ebook on how to tell if the food you eat is fake, all the foods that you think are normal that are actually fake, and we'll give you the real human diet that can make you lose 30, 40, 50, even 60 pounds and bounce your energy back and get you on track again. Hey, it's the Ask Dr. Ernst Show, 704-906-2094. Text it now. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You know, we all know about cancer and common cancers, so endometrial cancer, skin cancer, liver cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer.
Yeah.
These 5 cancers, people who drink coffee have a lower cancer mortality from these. So 5 cancers: cirrhosis of the liver, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's dementia, the early stage of Alzheimer's called cognitive decline, low risk in coffee drinkers, low risk of type 2 diabetes. Here both decaf and regular coffee work. And if you drink 4 to 6 cups, there's a 40 to 54% reduction in developing type 2 diabetes. And if one already has type 2 diabetes and they drink 2 cups, regular or decaf, there's a 30% reduction in cardiovascular mortality.
What if we told you coffee was good for you?
Coffee is the single highest source of antioxidants in the Western diet. More antioxidants than kale, more antioxidants than 70% dark chocolate, and more antioxidants than blueberries.
In fact, what if we told you that coffee is really good for you?
Research shows that 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day dramatically enhances performance in high-intensity exercise, improves memory, reaction times, and overall cognitive function, decreases risk of depression, promotes weight loss by boosting metabolic rates, reduces risk of type 2 diabetes up to 40%, decreases risk of liver cancer up to 71%, reduces risk of Parkinson's up to 30%, and decreases risk of Alzheimer's up to 65%. Overall, coffee drinkers live longer. People who drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day have about a 15% lower risk of premature mortality compared to people who don't drink coffee.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. My name is Dr. Aaron Ernst, and man, we're having a lively conversation today, are we not? We're talking about synthetic foods, the dangerous part of what you think food is, and how it's not actually food, how you've been lied to, and how even more, importantly, we are slowly being poisoned and transitioned into 100% man-made foods. If you don't believe me on this, Bill Gates has a company out that's now trying to make butter out of the carbon in the air. So butter from air. There's also companies that are printing lab-grown cultured beef and fish and eggs and chicken. We are genetically modifying, altering foods. That's been going on since the 90s. But the new is the fakeness of everything. There's fungal milks. Think about this, yeast and fungus that they feed these things to, and all of a sudden they produce this milky-like substrate that they can drain out, collect, and convince you that it came from a cow. We're doing the same thing with the microbial proteins. This is going to sound gross, guys, but like in culture tanks, they can put a bunch of medium and bacteria and fungus, and they can have it produce proteins and mix this proteins into food and tell you that it's healthy for you. Of course, there's the idea of engineered plant-based meats. I'm going to go after now the Impossibles, the Beyonds, all the vegan versions of meats. And I'm just going to be transparent with you. If you're a vegan and you truly are doing this for either religious reasons, or maybe you're like, I'm an animal rights activist and I don't believe we should eat animals, good for you. But don't eat meat then. Don't come to us crying saying, I really wish I could have a hamburger because I'm craving a hamburger, but I don't eat meat. So can you make me a plant burger that looks and smells and tastes just like meat but isn't meat? No, become a carnivore and actually go eat some steak. This is just me now. Okay, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from this, but real food is not a bunch of beet extracts and pea proteins and hemp proteins and chemicals and dyes that are put together to trick your tongue into thinking it's beef and thus tasting like beef and thinking that you're eating a clean, healthy hamburger because it's from plants. They've actually found they're more toxic. They contain more pesticides. They even have fungus in them. There's mold in every single one of them. Look at the research, guys. Just Google it. Mold found in the Impossible and Beyond meats. And it's not real. Your body knows what is in a steak. The ingredients are steak. It doesn't know that a steak has 900 ingredients that's all plant sourced. And when you eat that, I guarantee you your immune system is going to look at that and go, what the heck was that? This is impossible for me to digest. That's beyond my understanding. I don't know what to do with this stuff. And you can get sick from it. So in the first half of the show, we talked about how the labeling, the production, and the processing of foods is terrible. We talked about how they're growing food products like beef and fish and chicken that's actually beef and fish and chicken, but from stem cells in petri dishes that is fed a cultured medium and has fake collagen plastic lattices that it connects to so that it looks like meat and tastes like meat, but it isn't meat. Then we discussed how they're taking air and turning it into food. Butter from air, milk from air, food from air. And I'm not talking about the Star Trek synthesizer where you walk up and you say, give me a grass-fed steak, medium rare with a side of potatoes, and the plate appears with food. I'm not talking about that. But maybe I am actually. We're trying to get to that. I'm talking about the sheer fact that as humanity, when we try to make food better than what God created, we will always screw it up. It will always be bad for us, and that's why there's dangers in synthetic foods. And if you're listening to my voice going well, Dr. Ernst, it's so overwhelming. How am I supposed to know if the food I'm eating is real? How am I supposed to know what's synthetic? And how do I know if what I'm eating is good for me? It's simple. Text the word food, F-O-O-D, free, 100% free. I put hours into this ebook. How to know if your food is synthetic, how to know if it's fake, how to know what you should eat that's real, and I'm giving you what's called the real human diet. If you want to be a real human, not a synthetic human, but a real human that heals and is vibrant, has tons of energy and is alive, all you have to do, guys, is follow the real human diet. I wrote it. It's my newest ebook. I just put the finishing touches on it yesterday. It's finished and it's free. Online, it's $9, but for you, it's free, for free. 704-906-2094. Text the word food plus your name and email, and we'll send it to you today. Okay. Bioengineered plant-based meat substitutes. At first glance, it sounds like a good idea, right? Red meat causes heart disease. No, it doesn't. But it causes heart disease, so could we just have a steak that could be made from plants because plants don't cause heart disease? Be careful with that statement. The marketing language will always sound like it's a good thing. It comes from plants. It's really healthy. It's good for you. It's environmentally friendly. It's clean. It's a way to support, all the healthy stuff. But in reality, that manufacturing of making it is far more complex than they're leading you on to believe. Plant-based meat substitutes are often made of things that come from plants, but not plants themselves. Let me give you an example of that. They're not using like corn and wheat and rice and oats. They're taking extracts from corn and wheat and rice and oats. They're taking proteins from corn and sugars from plants, and they're mixing that together. So they're taking the fiber out. They're changing the carbohydrate concentrations. It would be the equivalent of saying like this. And again, I'm going to probably get flack for saying this. Corn today is bad, but 1,000 years ago, corn, if you ate corn, it's fibrous and starchy and it was decent. But there is some sugar in corn. Okay, it's called corn sugar. So that would be natural. Now, if we go and we say, hey, let's take the sugar out of the corn kernel and let's highly condense it and call it high fructose corn syrup, because there is fructose in corn, but not a lot. So you have to change the corn and make it sweeter. So there's the genetic and hybridizations. Then you have to take the corn and crank it through a machine processing. Then you have to pull the fructose out, and then you have to concentrate it to make a syrup, and then we call it high fructose corn syrup. To say that high fructose corn syrup is corn would be a lie. To say it's in corn is truth, but it's still a lie because it's not at that concentration. So to say that Impossible Burger is made from plants is technically a lie. It's made from things that come from plants, synthetically and chemically altered. Once isolated, protein powders are often combined with vegetable oils, like canola, which is extremely dangerous, and coloring agents and things so that it looks like and tastes like meat, but it isn't meat. One of the central technologies in producing this food is what's known as extrusion. Again, we're a learning show, guys. Extrusion. During the extrusion process, protein are mixed under high heat and pressure using special machines that will force the material through little tiny openings. And as the mixture emerges, the proteins align with fibrous material to make it look like muscle tissue. So what they're doing is they're trying to grind plants into what looks like muscle tissue. This process will produce something that visually has the texture and the feel of beef and chicken and sausage, but it isn't beef, chicken, or sausage. So it might look convincing, but the issue lies in the fact that the types of fats that they use are often very seed-based. So they'll use plant oils, because again, it has to be a plant burger. You won't find stuff like beef tallow and, animal fats. And they'll say stuff like, well, we use coconut oil and avocado oil, and they might a little bit, but mostly they're using the most famous and most deadly oil on the planet, canola, sunflower, and soybean. These oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. So while it might have fat in it, it's got the wrong kinds. The ingredients are usually in a toxic state, and they don't taste very good. So they have to now add flavoring agents, yeast that gets fermented to make this paste-like product, stabilizers and emulsifiers, coloring agents like beet extract, so that when you squeeze it, this red beet juice comes out and it looks like blood. Like, come on, like how crazy is it that a vegan wants their plant burger to smell like, look like, taste like, and even have juice come out of it like it's an actual piece of meat? Like, there's something crazy about that in my mind. If you want it that bad, just go eat an actual hamburger that's grass-finished, cooked properly, one ingredient. There's only one ingredient, guys, in grass-fed beef. It's grass-fed beef. There's no other ingredients added to it. Synthetic compounds play a unique role in the human body because when your gut is leaking, those synthetics can get into your blood, and here's the havoc. It creates an autoimmune condition. This is known. Autoimmune disease comes from gut leak where chemically unnatural proteins and peptides get through the gut into your blood, and then your body says red alert. So isolated soy proteins are not supposed to be floating around your blood. But if you eat a lot of these fake foods, especially the Impossible and Beyond meats, and you have a leaky gut, then those proteins that are synthetic get into your blood and your body says, red alert, we must destroy this. But now here comes the problem. Your body has a hard time telling the difference between that synthetically produced tissue and your tissue. This is why rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, degenerative conditions are on the rise right now, because your body's basically like, I can't tell who's who. I can't tell if that shoulder is you or fake, so I'll just destroy it. I can't tell if that thyroid is real or not, Hashimoto's. I can't tell if the insulin receptor is real or not, type 2 diabetes. I can't tell if that heart is yours or fake, heart disease. I can't tell if the pancreas is yours or fake, diabetes again. We talked about air making food, but how about this? Bill Gates' company, it's not technically his company, I think he bought it, which makes synthetic butter, in my opinion, is going to be one of the greatest downfalls of humanity today, because fake butter is fake. And again, if you're listening to my show going like, Dr. Ernst, you're blowing my mind. Like, you're saying what I'm eating isn't real food, probably, and that there's a real human food diet. Yep, I wrote it for you. And that you have a guide that can help me to see, is my food fake or real? Yes. How do I get it? Text the word food plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. Guys, it's that easy. Text the word food, F-O-O-D, 704-906-2094. Okay, I want to just talk briefly about Bill Gates' butter. Okay, I wrote an article about this earlier in this week. Go to AskDrErnst.com and look into it if you want. But an emerging synthetic food process involves making fat out of thin air. So in these systems, what happens is microorganisms, again, fungus, yeast, and bacteria, are able to produce fatty acids growing in a fermentation tank, and they convert things like air, so carbon dioxide, etc., into fat so that they can harvest this fat and turn it into things like cooking oils and butters. The fatty acid chains look very similar to that of regular fats, because fat does have carbon and dioxide and hydrogen. The goal of these technologies is to create fats that mimic the flavor and texture of what you would consider to be fat. Okay, so like you think this is fat. There just went my camera again. I thought I fixed that. I have two others, so don't freak out. And when dairy or dietary fats come from fake sources, they cause a massive inflammatory response. Okay, so from a technological perspective, to be able to make fats through fermentation might sound like amazing. We can make fat out of air. But again, inside fat is more than just fat. There's micronutrients and antioxidants and vitamins and all this kind of stuff. You better believe it that the Bill Gates butter does not have healthy vitamin D and vitamin E and butyric acid and conjugated linoleic acid in it, because those can heal you. What they'll put in there is a version of a fat that they say will be healthy. The biology of dietary fats is extremely complex. Fats are not just simply calories. They play structures in your cell membranes, in your brain. They participate in hormones. They regulate inflammation. Specifically, they have countless biological reactions inside the human body. The specific arrangements of fats within a fatty acid molecule can influence how it's absorbed, how it's transported throughout your blood, and how it gets incorporated into your tissues. Real fats, butter from grass-fed animals, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oils, they contain a variety of different kinds of fatty acid molecules. And this is how it should be. Fats are very bioactive. They can hold vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and antioxidants. When fats are made inside of a lab, however, they typically are of just one fatty acid type. So while it might look the same, it's not a blend and a mix like you would find in nature. History offers an instructive example, if you will, of how these industrial fats can cause problems. And I'll show you. Let me take you through a little journey, okay? In the early 20th century, hydrogenated vegetable oils were introduced as a great shift away from lard and butter. Crisco, if you will, vegetable oils. These oils were widely adopted in all processed foods and were believed to be the greatest thing of all discoveries. We can make oil from vegetables. And vegetables are good for you, so this oil must be good for you. Now, decades later, all the research says, oh my gosh, vegetable oils are killing human beings left and right, causing heart disease and cancer and diabetes and thyroid problems and gut issues. And if you don't believe me, just go online and look up vegetable oils and type in your condition, and you're going to find a massive connection between them. So right now, not the US, but there are countries that are actually banning the use of vegetable oils because they're so toxic and so dangerous. So the lesson we can learn from this is this. Not every fat technology produces great benefits in the human body. In my opinion, there will always be a consequence to us saying we can do a better job than our creator. And if you believe me on that, then smash that thumbs up and like on our Facebook feeds and our channels. If you're going, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't even know what you mean with this, then it's time to start getting some education and start learning some things. Okay, so in a global sense, is it a good idea to have human beings make food out of nothing? Well, it sounds good because we can solve the crisis of, the food demands and all this stuff. But the problem is we have no idea what we're doing. Okay, our creator knows everything we need and made food specifically that way for us. So when you eat real food, you get real results. You get health, you get vibrance, you get life, and you get healing, period. When you eat fake foods, you get fake results. And you end up with disease because your body is not designed to consume what you think is food. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Dr. Ernst, you know how hard it is for me just to eat, fish and chicken and steak and eggs and vegetables and nuts and seeds? That's so hard. Well, can you tell me why it is hard? Because that's a really good diet. Well, I crave the salty, crunchy. See, that's the disease inside of you trying to not die. So yes, when you switch to a real food diet, it's going to feel weird and it's going to taste weird. You're going to be like, I'm so bored because you're so used to being chemically stimulated on your tongue. It's like you're used to a fireworks display every time you eat. And when you eat real food, you're kind of like, it's like my kids' fireworks display. They're just throwing the snaps at the ground and I'm falling asleep. But yet, your health will come back. So if you're looking for that way out of the way you currently eat, 40, 50, 60 pounds of weight loss, energy back, vitality, muscle tissue, I'll give you the Real Human Food Diet ebook. I just put the finishing touches on it. It's about $10 on my website, but it's yours free right now. Like right now, text the word food plus your name and email to 704-906-2094, and it's yours free. To date, since the show started, 196 people have already grabbed that ebook. So why don't you get us north of 300 before I end the show today? 704-906-2094. Food, free. It's yours. Okay, I need to now talk about three-dimensional printed foods with food printers. So in addition to just the fermentation and the cellular creation and the synthetic foods where we can pull stuff out of the thin air, food printers are now being used to deposit layers of edible material in precise patterns to create structures that resemble traditional food. Meaning, I can print a piece of raw salmon. I can print a raw piece of steak. I can print a whatever I want. And the concept of food printing might sound like, again, science fiction, but the technology has been around for at least a couple years. And engineers are envisioning a future where you could go to a device in your kitchen and type in what you want, and the food is then printed for you, and you go cook it and you eat it. While this offers some intriguing possibilities, it also presents a dramatic departure from natural food formulation and food structures. So in nature, the physical structures of food arise from a biological process like plant growth with fibrous strands and even fluids and sugars and all kinds of things. And animals, it's the same thing. We have collagen lattices, we have peptides, we have amino acids, we have neural tissue, we have vascular tissue, we have muscle tissue, we have skin tissue and connective tissue. It's very complicated for a printer to print that. So in the area of technological advances with genetic engineering, certain crops can be printed because we've already changed their genetic material using what are called CRISPR techniques, if you're familiar with this, CRISPR, which allows us to take, say, for example, the genes of a tomato that make it big and put it inside of a piece of salmon genes so that the salmon grows bigger, and we have these Franken foods that are genetically altered. But we can now take like goo and put it in a tube and take other goo and put it in a tube. And as the two goo tubes come together, there's a printer and it just does, and we can print food. So I don't know about you, but see, what's inside the goo is really important. And I can guarantee you there's no life force and life essence. So the problem becomes we're just destroying our foods today. And I have a bunch more. I'm not going to be able to get all of this done today. I thought I would, but let me at least do the last one, which is the idea that the nutritional pattern that aligns with your physiology is not to eat fake food. It's real simple, guys. Water forms under the foundation of human nutrition because the earth produces water. So when the earth produces a liquid, we should drink that liquid. Now, I've never seen the earth have a spring that sprays out Diet Coke or Sprite, okay? So, like, I know what you guys are thinking. Well, it's a liquid, and I drink it. It's got water in it. It's fake. It's fake. Okay, this is where it gets real simple. The liquid that humans should drink is water. Now, there's some controversial conversations over should we drink the water extracts of other animals, like dairy from cow's milk. Well, if that's the case, why don't you drink cat milk or rat milk or skunk milk? Because, again, all nursing lactating animals produce a milk. Imagine if you walked up to the milk bar and you said, "Can I take some human breast milk, please?" And you drank that. As an adult, you would think that is disgusting, but as an infant, you can't live without it. I think it's disgusting to drink the lactational byproducts of a lactating cow when I'm not a cow. Cows drink cow milk, guys, till about the age of 2, and then they don't drink it anymore. Humans are the only animal that, with all this consciousness we have, say, you know what, it's a good idea if I drink the milk of another animal, and I'll call it part of my healthy breakfast. See, you've been programmed. The dairy industry wants you to think that milk does a body good. Milk is fake. But Dr. Ernst, you don't understand. No, I do understand. Watch this, okay? Whole milk is 4% fat. All the rest is water. Skim milk is less than 1%. Okay, so that's not, the whole milk isn't even whole milk. Raw milk, straight out of a cow, is illegal. And why do you think it's illegal? Because it has every nutrient you ever need inside of it, but you shouldn't drink it anyway. Food that we should eat is, we need proteins. 3 things, guys. All you need is protein, fat, and carbs. The problem is you guys have flipped the switch and you're doing a lot of carbs, very little protein, and almost no fat because you're afraid of fat because you believed what traditional medicine says you should do. Flip it around and do fat first, then protein, then carbs, and that's a real human diet. The question becomes, where do the carbs come from? Well, they come from natural sources of carbohydrates. Fruits, nuts and seeds, and vegetables do have carbs inside of them. Okay? We don't want to do anything. Just keep it real simple, right? Fruit, vegetables, and fibrous carbohydrates. Proteins. Okay, where do we get proteins from? Well, proteins can come from plant sources. Nuts and seeds, beans, etc. can have proteins in them. But a lot of the beans and nuts and seeds you're eating today have been altered, so we have to be careful. Animal-based proteins are necessary for a human. You are an animal. God made us able to eat animal-based proteins. Now, can you decide not to do that? Sure, but man, it's a lot of work. You got to work really hard to make sure you get enough of the proteins because a lot of plants don't have all of the proteins we need. There's only 1 or 2. Peas, green peas, and spirulina have every protein you need for human health. But if you're a vegan and you're not eating peas like crazy, I mean bags and bags and bags of peas, or using pea proteins or spirulina proteins, you're just not going to make it. So we need to eat animal-based proteins, or if you're a vegan, vegetarian, up the essential amino acids found in only certain food products. And again, fats, right? We need healthy fats, butter, coconut oil, grass-fed, I already said that, grass-fed butter, avocado oil, ghee, beef fat, duck fat, chicken fat. Like we need these healthy fats. And that right there, guys, is the essence of the real human food diet. You can grab it right now. They're kicking me off the air. 704-906-2094. Text the word food, your name and email. I'll give you everything you need today. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Until then, be blessed.